All right, another loss for the Carolina Panthers, this time 27-13 at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts. Here with Julian Council from On Panthers. Julian, I'd ask keys to the game, but I think I already know the answer to at least two of the keys to this game. Bryce Young with 2 pick sixes. I mean, clearly his worst game as a pro. Are you panicked? Frank Reich says he's not panicking, and he wasn't even thinking about pulling him at that point.
I'm not panicking, but we understand why a lot of people are panicking today. It's because of what happened down in Houston with a quarterback the Panthers played last week, and we thought we were past this whole CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young thing, but it's never going to go away, at least until Bryce Young proves himself to be the better player, at least a franchise quarterback here in the NFL. But yeah, the turnovers today were killer. You look at the scoreline, 27-13, the direct result of 2 pick sixes by Indianapolis is why the Carolina Panthers lost, at least in part of why the Carolina Panthers lost. And Bryce Young picked a bad day to have a bad day. And understand, in each of those situations, he's trying to make a play under duress, which has been the constant theme here in Carolina all season long. Just an ill-advised throw to Chuba Hubbard. Then you look at the second one where, again, pressure, it's a screen. You're going to allow pressure up the middle anyways. Bryce trying to throw to Miles Sanders, just overthrows it. Bad throw, bad decision, maybe eat it. He doesn't do it. It's unfortunate to see because the guy is clearly trying hard. You thought he was progressing, but as Frank Reich said on Sunday, the offense took a step back.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of eerily similar to week 1 where he had the same 2 mistakes to the same guy. This time, the Colts cash in both times. How do you separate not looking at the Texans box score every week, CJ Stroud setting more rookie records today, and Bryce Young having his worst day?
It's difficult to do. Yeah. I do feel like this should not be anything more than Bryce Young just had a bad game. He's a rookie. This was going to happen. Yes, he's already had a multi-interception game, which was his first career game. As you mentioned, Jesse Bates in Atlanta, same exact throw. This was going to happen as far as the pick six. Only, as far as we know, in his college career and his NFL career, it's like the second and third time it's happened. So it's unfortunate that happened. But yeah, Bryce just didn't play well. And as Frank Reich alluded to, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, we're not going to put in Andy Dalton.
Yeah, right.
They spent all this capital to put in Bryce Young, to develop Bryce Young at 1-7. Really, all that matters is the development of Bryce Young. So pulling him wouldn't make a lot of sense. But you have to understand, too, from a fan psyche standpoint, when you look at CJ Stroud setting records as for passing yards by a rookie quarterback, you remember 13 years ago and Cam Newton doing that. And you're wondering yourself, man, why can't we be the team that has that guy? Or 12 years ago. And why can't we be the team that has that guy yet again? So I can understand from a fan standpoint how it's hard to separate the two, but you're going to drive yourself crazy if you're a fan doing that. Just understand that it's going to take some time. Maybe Bryce eventually gets there, and we'll see if Stroud is really, I mean, he looks like the real deal, so it's difficult.
I have been a proponent of just letting Bryce Young play through this because of, honestly, who he is and his background, and also because of the investment that you mentioned. Today was the first time after the 2 pick sixes where I was like, maybe just at the end of this game, pull him. But, I mean, keeping him in, I think, is the right choice. But is there a fine line between letting him develop and learn, but also trying not to break the kid who's never experienced anything like this?
Oh, absolutely. You are worried about whether Bryce Young is going to be ruined from this season. We've seen in the past what's happened to quarterbacks like David Carr in Houston, who was a top pick and did not have any protection. And the Panthers thought they had an offensive line that was going to protect him this year. And so far, even with the injuries to Austin Corbett and Brady Christensen, even some of the returners like Ike Ekwonu have not played up to the level that we expected. Bradley Bozeman, he had some trouble today in this game as well. And Taylor Moton, he's had his ups and downs. So you look at that part, if they're not going to protect him, you wonder, should he be out there? As far as if you take that many hits, eventually, no matter whether you're Cam Newton size, you're Bryce Young size, or any average size quarterback, it's going to weigh on you. And possibly that toll leads to an injury, which we hope does not happen for Bryce Young and for the Panthers, knowing that him being out there is really the only thing that folks are tuning into. I would imagine moving forward at 1-7 and playoffs, of course, off the table at this point in time. So, yeah, I am concerned about maybe Bryce being broken. But just looking at his psyche, the way that guy has handled it so far, he does look pretty torn up after games. But in the game, after those mistakes, he still seemed pretty confident, did not seem shaken while he was out there. It's just after the game and kind of sitting back there and having the toll on you, that's when you really see the emotions take over for Bryce Young on Sundays.
All right, Julian, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since the Panthers stood pat at the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah.
You see today even they got some pretty good defensive pieces, and they didn't part ways with any of them. Should they have? Do you think they should have made a move?
No, I don't. I've been a proponent of keeping Brian Burns. I look at the wide receiver position. They trade away DJ Moore. That could have been someone to help out Bryce Young. How has that worked out for them so far this season? It's going to take them a while maybe to find a replacement for DJ Moore. Hopefully it will be in the offseason, but so far that has not been the case. Adam Thielen's been good, but he's not a long-term option to grow alongside Bryce Young. And you also look at the running back spot. And Miles Sanders, he was pretty impressive, but still, as Kevin Harlan said multiple times on the broadcast during the game, he's been underwhelming. Chuba Hubbard having to step in there as the main back 2 weeks in a row. It's not like he's been that effective. The run game hasn't been that great, although combined had 128 yards rushing today. I look at it. You've already had difficulty replacing McCaffrey overall this season. Yeah. You've had difficulty replacing DJ Moore. Like, how difficult is it going to be to replace a Derek Brown, a Brian Burns? How long is it going to take you to get that type of players? The Panthers need more good players, not less. And you look at their draft history, what are they going to do with the compensation?
They have not hit on those
so they're not hitting on
days.
it. So if anything, what they would need to do is probably find a whole new front office and guys who can bring in the players, because there's not much confidence so far in what they've done if you even would have traded away players just based off of the results. But then you look at the top, there's not much confidence in the owner who hired the people who constructed this roster, and he has also played a large part in some of the decisions, including Bryce Young being here in Carolina.
If you're a defensive player on this team, how do you frame the following in your mind? You hold Indianapolis to under 200 yards. They came in with a very good ground game. You hold them to under 80.
Yeah.
You hold them to 13 points, just one offensive touchdown and a pair of field goals, and lose. How do you just get the energy to keep going out there and performing like this week after week?
Well, unlike years past where the defense was pretty good every week. That hasn't really been the case this year. Now, injuries have played a part in that. Von Bell missing his third straight game today. Yeah. Shaq Thompson out for the season. J.C. Horn maybe back in the next week or two, as Frank Reagan told us on Wednesday. So they've been banged up, and they played well. But they've also had their issues so far this season. Miami, Detroit. We've seen it. Yeah. So, and even sudden change situations, week one against Atlanta, couldn't get off the field. I just feel like it's one of those things where you got to keep going out there, got to keep playing hard. You tip your cap to guys like DiCaprio Boodle's gone out there and had to play.
He almost had a pick.
Yeah, I mean, he played well today. You really just tip your cap to a lot of those guys who've had to step up in the situations. DJ Johnson getting his first career start. So I think the defense understands that they haven't always been at their best, and there's reasons for that. But it's just it's a team game. Got to play complementary football, and well, I guess it's not really happening on a consistent basis.
Well, a good thing is the vibes for this one won't last that long because they got to turn around and play Chicago in 4 days. But those vibes from that win last week didn't last very long either. I mean, get just 6 or 7 days of that, and they're right back into this slog here at 1-7. It's very much a one step forward, like 2 steps back team. How many more wins do you see this team being able to put together? And is anybody in trouble in losing their job if this continues at this rate and you only have 2, maybe 3 wins on the season?
You have to imagine David Tepper talked about how upset he is after games, and he's a man of pride. That pride has probably led to more bad here in Carolina than good throughout his tenure as the owner here for the Panthers. I looked at this week. I think they're over-under in Vegas is now 4.5. It started up at 7.5 when the season started.
That seems high to me.
It was 3.5 before the win a couple weeks ago. So it might go back down to 3.5 after this loss. You would think Chicago would be an opportunity on Thursday Night Football. I think they can beat Atlanta at home. That's a team that turn football over, you can win. Duh. That's a win. All the divisional games, I think they can win. It's just hard to see where the win's going to come at this point in time. They're not going to beat Dallas. I don't see them beating Jacksonville, but it is the NFL any given Sunday. If they can't get the 3, well, if they only win 3 or 4 games, Nick, I just don't really know how you can move forward with this, considering how bad the offense has been. Mm-hmm. Like, it would be one thing if the offense had looked good, Bryce has looked good, and then the defense was struggling because you brought in an offensive coaching staff and you look at all the defensive injuries. But the fact that the offense has been this bad with that many offensive, I don't even want to say masterminds, but that many offensive-leaning coaches with the experience that they have, it's hard if you're David Tepper and the organization to stand pat and just say, yeah, well, this is what we're going to move forward to next year. You talk about the energy from last week, that's gone. The energy from April, from May, from August is gone. And I don't know when it's coming back.
Still bringing it. You're still bringing it over here. One last question. You talked about Chicago Thursday night. Brian Burns entered the concussion protocol at the end of this game.
Oh,
so
boy.
to clear that by Thursday is unlikely, based on what we've seen before. CJ Henderson suffered an injury. That's
Concussion
gonna be
too.
And same thing. Mm-hmm. So to get out of concussion protocol is going to be tough. So 2 more injuries to the defense, which is your strong point. Chicago's not very good, but where are you with the Panthers going into that game?
Well, I saw that Tyson Bagent had 3 interceptions against the Saints today.
Well, Fields is working his way back, though. But is that who knows if that's a good thing?
Well, and that could also mean interceptions as well.
Yeah.
Justin Fields has struggled to take care of the football. I guess that's something that he could learn from Tyson Bagent. I don't know. Probably not, Chris Collinsworth. But, I think they can find a way to get after Tyson Bagent to force some turnovers, which, well, they haven't really done a great job of doing that so far this season. And when they get them, they haven't really capitalized and turned them into points. But that would be the pathway to victory, I'd imagine, against Chicago on Thursday night. And what would also be nice is not allowing DJ Moore to go wild and have another referendum game.
You can just see it happening, man. I'm telling you. I don't know where he's been since that Washington game, but you could just see him popping up this Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a Steve Smith blood and guts game, but if it is, then that may cost somebody their job. Because I think back to last year, a Tennessee Titans team that traded away a great receiver in A.J. Brown. Now, Brown, much better than DJ Moore, had a great game against that team. The owner didn't like it, got rid of the general manager the week after. Not saying that could happen, will happen, but, it's always on the table.
Julian, win, lose, or draw Thursday. You and I are taping this bad boy on Friday, so give you Sunday off.
Awesome.